In this video, we're going to do a test drive of the Address Book app, and we're going to demonstrate a number of new features that we'll be presenting in the app. You can see here that I already have the app installed, so I'm just going to go ahead and touch its icon to bring it up. And you can also see that I've already pre-populated the app with a bunch of names in my address book. And a couple of things that I'd like to point out on this main address book activity screen is that this is a scrollable list of items. This is called a list view. And if I pull down when I'm already at the top, you see that highlight that comes up there. That's an indication that we've reached the top of the list. And similarly, as I pull up from the bottom, you can see the highlight that comes from the bottom of the list to indicate the end of the list as well. Those were new features that were added as of Android 2.3 to give the user a little bit more visual interactivity when they reach the top and bottom of the list. Now, what we're looking at here is called a list activity. It's a special type of activity that has as its primary GUI component a list view object, and the list view has a nice capability to be bound to what's known as an adapter to populate the list view. And in this particular example, the way we're going to do that is with a so-called cursor adapter, which is going to connect us to a SQLite database where all of this information is stored. Now, from this screen, we can select an existing contact to look at the details of that contact, or we can add a new contact by touching the menu button, where you see this Add Contact menu item appear. And we've certainly shown you menus before, but notice on this menu item that we have an icon as well. Part of what we're going to do is show you how to use the standard Android icons to enhance the visual appeal of your menus or graphical user interfaces. So let me go ahead and hit Add Contact, and this brings up the Add Contact screen. It's actually both for adding a contact and for editing an existing contact, and as you'll see in the source code, basically what happens here is depending on whether we're adding a new contact or editing an existing one, it will decide whether to give us blank fields for entering input or to populate those fields with existing data. So let's say I want to add a contact called Paul, so I'll type Paul here. And of course I could go through and type the rest of the information. You can see here we're asking for a name, a phone number, an email address, an address, and city, state, zip. And then we can hit the Save Contact button to save this. If we wanted to cancel out of this, we could simply hit the back button on the device. So let me go ahead and hit Save Contact, and now you can see the new contact has been added to the list. Now, of course, sometimes contact information changes, or you want to just look at the information for a contact. So if I touch any contact, including the one I just added, you'll be presented with the Address Book's View Contact screen. And one of the things that you'll notice here is that the labels in the left-hand column and the labels in the right-hand column have certain, I'll call them, styles associated with them. The ones in the left-hand column are all right justified and have the same color and font size, and the ones in the right-hand column all have the same color and font size as well, and they're surrounded by a border. So one of the things we're going to demonstrate in this app is how to use styles in Android to provide the same settings for a bunch of GUI controls. Now from this screen, obviously you can see the details of a particular contact. If you hit the menu button here, you'll notice once again a menu appears, and again we're using standard Android icons for edit contact and delete contact menu items. And of course, if I hit edit contact, what I expect to see is the screen in which I can now edit the details. So for example, if I wanted to add in a phone number, notice that a phone number specific keyboard gets displayed. So we're going to show you how to use keyboards that are specific to the type of information you're entering. And I'll just do 555-555-5555 to enter a phone number in this case, and I'll save my contact. There's my updated information. Just to show you, if I go back to the main list and pull up my contact again, the information has clearly been stored in the app, and that data is actually now in the database. So if I shut down the app and come back, that information will be permanently stored on my device. Of course, unless the user deletes the app from the device. Now, if I wanted to delete the contact, I can just go ahead and pull up that menu once again, touch my delete contact button. And of course, you don't want to just immediately delete the information without confirming, because that could have been a mistake. So it asks me with a little dialogue here, this will permanently delete the contact. Are you sure you really want to do it? And of course, if I hit delete now, it will remove that contact from the list, and you can see here that Paul is no longer displayed. So some of the things that we'll be seeing in this particular app are the concept of a list activity. And one of the other things I didn't mention here is that when I touch a contact, this is actually another activity that's being displayed. So we're going to have our first app with multiple activities, and we have the main list activity that shows the list of contacts. We have this activity, which is the view contact activity. And again, if I go into my edit menu item here, this is the add edit contact activity. So we're going to show you how you can have an app's activities communicate with one another. We're going to show you the concept of styles, as I mentioned, and list views as well. And for the first time, when we create our menus in this app, we're going to do so with XML and use a so-called menu inflator to actually inflate those items. One other key thing that we're going to show you in this app, because we're manipulating databases and because database operations can be time consuming, we're also going to show you how to move database operations into separate threads of execution.